Hey, it's James from Finney Electrical. On today's video, we're doing some electrical testing. So we're doing an EICR test, which stands for Electrical Installation Condition Report, which basically just tests the house electrics to make sure it's all safe. So the whole point of this test is to prevent electric shock and fires. So let's get into this. Alright, we're in. So the owner's just let us in, so he's gone now, so I don't have to wear a mask, which is nice. So first thing I do when I test, I'll do 100% visual, so I'll walk around, look at the lights, switches, sockets, and just make sure that there's no cracks and everything's just looking how it should be. So this is the property we're in. Nice kitchen, nice living room. It's got these cool alcoves actually. But yeah, basically we'll have a walk around and see what's going on. So we'll just have a quick look around then. So everything's looking good. Make sure the lights flick on and off. Make sure there's no like exposed singles coming out your pendants. When it comes to testing the downlights, we'll bob them out and just make sure they're terminated correctly. Because a lot of the time with the downlights, you'll find that the electrician that does them is a bit lazy and leaves loads of exposed singles hanging out the back of the light, which is no good. So yeah, a bit loose, so we'll have to tighten that up. Again, we're just looking for like hairline cracks that could cause a bigger crack, and then you got exposed live parts, which is not what we want. So we're just checking it's all sturdy, no cracks and stuff. We also kind of felt like getting familiar with the surroundings. That we make sure we test everything. I'll have a look back at cupboards in a bit. That's this room. Notice cheap dimmer or non-dimmable lamp, because that's just flickering like mad. Don't know if you can see on the video. So all these metal sockets, you generally don't get cracks on metal sockets, but sometimes the plastic insert gets cracked, so you have to watch for any cracks on this bit here. Make sure these work. I've had it where one of these just been hanging out, it just falls out when you pressed it. So you gotta watch for stuff like that. So you don't want holes in accessories, basically you'll end up getting electric shock. So we're looking for holes in the fuse board. It's looking quite nice actually. That's looking alright. Looking for blanks now. So when you don't fully populate a fuse board, so say you've got one not being used and you haven't got the MCB in there, there'll be a blank where you can pop your finger in and get a shock. So you put like a little clip in, or like a moulded blank. That looks right, apart from we haven't got an installation like sticker on, and that's missing from there, so that's a note. Upstairs. Socket, looking good. Again, metal switches, metal sockets. When we do the test, we're going to make sure these are earthable. Anything metal we pop off, it's part of the test, and just check it's earthed. Socket looking fine. Pendant, no exposed singles. So it's quite a simple test really. You're just bobbing around, checking the functionality, making sure there's no singles exposed, no cracks in sockets. That's this room. So it doesn't take long really just to bob around, just 5 minutes. They're looking good. That's looking alright. Up in the loft. That's looking great job, that one. Oh, let's look at this. So straight away we found this. So that could potentially be live there. They've just chopped it out. It's a smoke detector, and they've just chopped it out. So that could be live. So that's a bit dangerous. It's not good. I've seen this socket down here. So if you look at this, it's just hanging off the wall. Anyone can get their fingers in there and get a shock. So that's not good. They might have had a rewire, and that's why. So that could be dead. That's bleep anyway as well. So now we'll just have a look at the fuse board. So I don't die walking down these weird steps. Right then. We'll check the supply first. We've had a look at that. check the incoming, see what's going on. So we've got another fuse board for some reason. And it's all chopped off, so all of them could be live at the moment, but we'll follow these big fat cables that feed it. It's actually still plugged in, that. Still wired in. So I think that's so bad, look at that. That's just been left out. They should be live then, we'll just check that now. I can't believe they've done that, look at this. So they're live, just sticking out. There's no cover on. All that's live still. So all these little ends are, anyone can just come in here and just get a shock, which is really bad. So whoever's installed this has installed that. I've got to disconnect this and chop it all out. That's really bad. So that's, I'll have to disconnect that straight away. But on the report it go down as a C1. So I'll explain codes just so you know what that is. So when you come across a observation or a fault, it basically gets classified as a C1, C2 or C3. So a C3 is just a recommendation. A C1 is exposed live parts, so it's something you can put your finger on and get electric shock, or something that's just going to cause fire. C2 is the possibility to become a C1, so a possibility of, say, like a crack in a socket, that'd be a C2 because it's got the potential to then become a C1. So if the crack gets worse, you're going to have exposed live parts. So that's how I basically classify it. There's a great book called Code Breakers, so I think that's by Napit. So that's quite good. So that just goes through any fault that you could come across or any observation, and it tells you the codes. So C1 and C2 failure report, and a C3 is just a recommendation, so you don't have to get it done. But it won't fail a report if you get code 3 on an observation. So there you go, that's the codes. Straight away we're turning that off, so I don't want to be moving past these and get electric shock. So we'll disconnect that later and just blank it off underneath. So yeah, we can't leave it like that. We can't have someone coming in here and just touching that and dying. So yeah, we'll get that sorted. Can't believe they've done that. So we just walked around and done the visual check. So fuse board, exposed live parts, you can just touch it, get a shot, that's not good. So that's, we'll have to sort that straight away, disconnect it. And then there's a socket in the loft, that's just hanging out, you can put your fingers in, get a shock. And then there's the smoke detector, the top floor, we can again use touch the end of the cable, you're gonna die. So they'll go down the report, but we'll have to disconnect them, it's not good at all. Just gonna set up this report. So I use a laptop just to input all the information we need. So there's something called Napit Desktop, which is awesome. So you basically just bob it up, you can fill out the details of the circuits and all your test results really easily. So we're just going to set that up now. So I'll quickly just show you what goes in these reports. So first page, we've got details of installation, that's just the customer's name and address, dead easy. Then we've got the conditions of the installation, so you say if it's good or not, I just put satisfactory and unsatisfactory and any notes. Limitations, so what we're testing and any limitations, can we not get to things, that kind of thing. We've got next test date, stuff like that. Next box, we've got supply and particulars, so that's all about the main incoming fuse and your conductor sizes coming in. So that all bobs in there. Stuff to do with earth rods. Let's have a look. Yeah, conductor sizes, earthing sizes, and the bonding sizes going to your gas pipe, water pipe, that kind of thing. Schedule inspections, this is basically a big checklist. So you just go down it and see if it applies or not. If you look down here, if we get an issue or an observation, so it goes down to C1 like we said before, C2, C3, further investigation, if we need to look into it more, or NV, yeah, you haven't verified it. Boards and tests, so there's board details there, so you just fill that out, that's just about the board, like where is it, who's testing it. Circuit details and test results, again, this is what is the time saver really. So you can quite easily just, I don't know, let's say they're all 6 or 8, 9, 8, so you can literally just type 6 and then down. It's easy as that, 6, 6, 6, 6. You can quite easily just fill out a report as quick as that, so that's why I love it. That's that, and then observations. So again, I set up like a template. So this is from one we did ages ago, and I set it up as a template because it kind of applied to most installations. So again, these are the observations. So these are where you're going to write down what's gone wrong. So as you can see, danger present, you're going to get a shock. Potential danger, you've got a crack and it could turn into a hole in it where you can get your finger in and get electric shock. C3, just improve recommendations. So these two will fail a report and that will You'll still pass a report, but it's just telling you can get it done if you want to. Then you've got further investigation if basically further investigation required without delay. So that's basically how the report's set up. So now we're just going to go into filling the report out and testing. So we can't go through every test and every circuit with you, if not the video will be like a couple hour long. So we'll just pick a few circuits and show you how it's done. So the first test we're going to do is a ZE test. So we're going to test between earth and line. So we're going to disconnect the earth out of the fuse board and test between earth and line, and that'll basically tell you the resistance between the two conductors back to the transformer in the street. So we're looking for a nice low reading. So what we're going to do is disconnect the bondings down there, going to the gas and water, and then we're just going to get a test up here. So now then parallel paths are disconnected, we'll just go line and earth test. And we've got a result of 0.16. So next we're going to test the PFC. So we've got the bondings connected back in now. And then it's the same test, so it's just between line and earth again. And we've got 0.17, so 1.4 it's popped out at. So that's your PFC. So now we're just going to have a look at what the earth arrangement is. So it's a TNS and it's 80 amp. So we'll just write this in over here. So again, 80 amp up there. So we've written that in there. One phase, two wires, this line and neutral basically. And then over here we've written in them results, 1.4 for the PFC, 0.16 for the ZE, and up here we'll click TNS. So next we're just going to verify that the gas bonding and water bonding's in. So as you can see they've come from the fuse board up here, done a loop, and then that probably goes onto the water pipe. So what we'll have to do is get an earth reading from here to here, just to verify that it is going there, and same again from source to the water. So all you do is get your wander lead out, go to the water pipe and pop it on the earth clamp at the water pipe, and then those results just type in the report. So if you bob down here it says bonding conductor, so it's just those are the results there, so it needs to be less than 0.05. So for the gas and water, if it comes in a plastic pipe, it doesn't need an earth, so you can just put it down as NA. So next we're coming on to the schedule of inspections. So what I like to do is to leave that right to the end, so you've basically dived into all your circuits, you know what the issues are, and then you can fill it out, rather than filling out the bits you know, and then having to come back to it later. Now we found another one, so just saw this cable just hanging out here. And yeah, it's live. So if you flick that switch there, it just comes live, so turn that off. So I've just pre-filled this document in just from two pictures. So the first picture just was the front of the fuse board of the labels, so they're in. The second picture was of the fuse board cover off, so you can get all the MCB details there. You can see the cable sizes here, and over here we've just pre-filled the insulation resistance tests, and then if they fail we'll just change them, because most of the time they pass. And then we've just, all the ones that are spare, we've just NA'd the ones that don't apply, and then we've got all the ones blank ready for test results. Next test we're doing is the RCD test. So there's two RCDs on the installation, so there'll be two sets of results. So we'll bang it on RCD time. It's a 3-lead test. So you've got the earth there, and then we'll bang a probe on neutral and line. So they're in, so ready for the test. So we'll just click test. All that's going to do is test on half times the operating current, 1 times, then 5 times. So at the moment it's only testing at 15 milliamps, it shouldn't trip. It's just tested at like 0 on the cycle. If you look there, there's a 0, and it trips out. So I'll reset that. It's now going to test on 180 degree of the cycle, so that'll change to 180, and then it'll test 5 times 30 milliamps, so 0, 180. So it tested at half times, it didn't trip. It tested at 1 times at 0 of the cycle, and 180 degree of the cycle. So 1 times it has to be less than 200 milliseconds, so that passes. And then on 5 times on 0 it needs to be less than 40 milliseconds, and that's nice and low. So I've just tested the RCD. So again, half times didn't trip, 1 times highest was 28.4, so it's less than 200 milliseconds, and 5 times 14 was the highest, so less than 40 milliseconds. Both the RCD buttons work, so all these are ticked now, and all the results are typed in here. So I'll take you through a radial test and a ring test, and we'll just explain how to do those. So for the radial circuit, we're going to test the hob. So there's an isolator over there, so we're just basically going to test to the incoming side of that. So what we're going to do is just disconnect circuit 13, which is this one. So we'll pull the line, neutral and earth out, and just get ready with the tester. So that's the neutral, earth and line bobbed out. So what we'll do is do a continuity test first. So we basically just connect line and earth together, and then on the switch side we basically just do a test between line and earth that side, and then you get the resistance all the way around from here to the switch and back. That's line and earth connected. So we're just going to bang that on continuity like that. Earth's connected, and then we'll just put this on the line. There you go, 0.24 it said a minute ago. Bring it on. There we go. Taps goes in the R1R2 column, so 0.24, that goes there. There we go. And then we're going to do insulation resistance test next. So insulation resistance, just going to bang it on that test. There we go. So we've got line and earth. So you just hold the test button down, sends 500 volts down it, and it gives you greater than 500 meg, so that's passed. Then we do earth, neutral. Give that a blast. Pass. Then we go line, earth. Line, neutral, sorry. Second revision. There you go, greater than 500, so that's passed. So what that test does is send 500 volts down between two conductors, and it's just measuring the resistance between them, and you get a really, really high reading. So what that test does, it just tells you how much the insulation is broken down by. So if it lands below a certain number, it tells you if it needs a rewire or not. So with that test, you need to make sure you disconnect all the loads. So you disconnect all the lights, anything plugged in, like a lamp in the corner or anything like that. So you disconnect all that, any USB sockets, so that's going to also put a load on the system. So you have to disconnect all that to get the insulation resistance test. So next we're going to do a ring circuit. So we're just going to pick one of the socket circuits and show you how we do that. So what we'll do is disconnect circuit 3, so we'll disconnect line, earth and neutral, and then do an end-to-end test. We'll turn this back to continuity, and then I've put a clip on one side of the ring, and then a clip on the other side of the ring for line. And we just click test, then 0.36. Same again for neutral, so this is called the end-to-end test. So you just test it from the fuse board, around every socket and back. So neutral, got greater than 2000 on that, so just going to make sure they're clamped on properly, which they are. So at the moment we've got open neutral, that's now good, so that'll need investigating. And then we'll get the earths now. And we've got 0.52, so we'll write those readings down, and we can do a ring test. We'll explain what that is now. So for the crossover test, you've got a cable from the fuse board around to every socket and back. So you've got essentially two cables. So you've got two lines and two earths. So the line and earth on this side, you just cross the line in to the earth out, and then the earth into the line out, basically. It's hard to say that. But yeah, and then you basically go around all the sockets, and you should be getting a reading within 0.05 of each other. So as you can see, we've crossed the line in to the earth out and the earth into the line out. That's that. So let's go around and get a test at these. So we've swapped to the socket attachment. Just bang this in here, get a test. 0.37. Test both sides, because I've had it where one side's been used a lot more than the other. It comes out like 2 ohm or something stupid. Now this socket is hanging off, so we'll have to get that screwed back. So they should be landing in 0.05. So I think they asked for 0.40, so I'll write that down on his test result. That bangs in the R1R2 there, so 0.40, lovely. So after that we're going to do the insulation resistance test on the socket circuit. So it's exactly the same as you saw for the hob, so disconnect all loads and test between conductors. The other things left we've got to do is a couple of ring tests. So we're going to test 2 socket circuits, the kitchen and upstairs, and then we've got a few radial circuits to test, and then that's this test done. So we're just going to input an observation for the no neutral end-to-end test. So when we did that, there was a break in the cable, so there was no continuity from the fuse board around every socket and back. There was a break somewhere, or more than one break. So we've put circuit 3, down sockets, end-to-end neutral, test failed. So it needs investigating, so I'll put it down as a C2. So essentially that single 2.5 could have 30 amps running through it, and it's on a 32 amp breaker, so there could be a potential fire there, so it's a fire risk. That's us done for testing down here. So unfortunately we can't film everything, otherwise the video will be like a few hours long. So you got to see a ring test, how to do that, how to do a radial test, insulation resistance, R1R2 test, and a few tips and tricks. But yeah, we basically went around all the lights and made sure the metal fittings and metal switches were all earthed. Any observations we basically put in the report, so the client can see. Any that cropped up C2 needs to get done to pass the report, anything that's C1 needs to be done to pass the report. The fuse board has been disconnected, flipping out how bad that. Coming in, anyone could have touched that and died, so that's really bad. I can't believe someone's done a new installation and just left the old one hanging out with exposed live copper that you can poke and die, you know, that's awful. So yeah, I'm glad we found that. I'm glad we sorted that out. So yeah, there's quite a few remedials to do here. So once the client's completed the remedials, then we can basically produce a pass report, and then this property is signed off. So yeah, if you like this kind of content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell notification so you know when we're next uploading. As always, have a good one from me, and I'll see you on the next one.